2.38. 1.
Yes, I think I am. Or anyway, more than I used to be. I think my attitude to risk has changed as I've gotten older. For example, I'm more open to risking a change in appearance because I think I'm less self-conscious now. I often change hairstyles and colour, but when I was younger, I had the same hairstyle for years and years. I also think I would take more risks travelling now because I'm more self-confident, so I'm pretty sure I could cope with any problems.
2.
Yes, I'm definitely a risk taker. I take risks to do things that I enjoy, like skiing or riding a bike in New York City, which is pretty dangerous. In fact, I think the element of risk probably makes them even more enjoyable. The only time I wouldn't take a risk would be if I couldn't see that I was going to get any pleasure from it. I wouldn't do something risky just for the sake of it.
3.
I'm the kind of person who likes to know exactly what I'm doing and when I'm doing it, so there's not much room for risk in my life. For me, risk means not being completely in control, and that can make me feel really nervous. For example, if I'm meeting a friend for dinner, I always make sure we have a table booked somewhere nice. I wouldn't risk just turning up and hoping that there was a table. And I never buy clothes online, because I don't want to run the risk of them being the wrong size and having to send them back.
4.
I'm definitely not a risk taker. I might like to think that I am because it seems exciting, but I'm not. I live in a suburb of Boston, and I'd never walk home on my own in the evening when it's dark because that just seems like an unnecessary risk to take. And I'd never get into a taxi on my own at night. But on the other hand, I would love to do something like bungee jumping or paragliding, which other people would probably think is risky.
5.
I don't see myself as a risk taker. I've done a lot of mountain climbing, and everyone assumes because of this that I'm attracted to risk, but it isn't really true. In fact, when you're climbing high mountains, you're always trying to minimize the risk. The biggest risk I've ever taken in my life was a professional one. After 20 years in the same job, I left and set up my own company. And that's given me a lot more sleepless nights than climbing in the Andes or the Himalayas.
6.
I am happy to take risks. I love driving fast. In fact, I bought myself a sports car when I had some money, and I got quite a few speeding tickets, though probably not as many as I deserved. I also take risks with money, like lending to people who probably won't pay me back, or spending all I have on something a little bit unnecessary. Last year, I went on a balloon ride, and I was amazed that so many people said, "Ooh, I wouldn't do that." I loved it, and I'd happily do it again. It was fantastic.
2.39.
If you want to be in shape, you need to exercise every day.
If people are wearing headphones while walking, they often don't notice other people.
If you haven't been to New York, you haven't lived.
2.40.
If the photos are good, I'll send them to you.
If you're not going to Jason's party, I'm not going to go either.
If I haven't come back by 9 o'clock, start dinner without me.
I'll have it finished in an hour if you don't disturb me.
2.41.
I'll be ready as soon as I've had a cup of coffee.
Text me when your train's coming into the station.
I'm not going to buy the new model until the price has gone down a little.
I'm not going to work overtime this weekend unless I get paid for it.
Take your umbrella in case it's raining when you leave work.
2.42. Dialogue 1. 1.
I'll tell you as soon as I know my plans.
2.
If 6 of us go, it won't be too expensive.
3.
we'll have to book soon if we want to get something nice.
Dialogue 2. 4.
I'll be waiting by the ticket office when you get there.
5.
What will you do if I'm late?
6.
Well, give me my ticket in case I get there at the last minute.
2.43.
If we rent a house in the mountains, will you come skiing with us?
I'll tell you as soon as I know my plans. How much do you think it'll cost?
If 6 of us go, it won't be too expensive.
Well, I'll have to check my dates first.
Okay, but we'll have to book soon if we want to get something nice.
How will I find you at the theater?
I'll be waiting by the ticket office when you get there.
What will you do if I'm late? I don't finish work until 7 o'clock.
I'll wait for you until 7:20, and then I'll go to my seat.
Well, give me my ticket in case I get there at the last minute.
2.44.
For most of us, the riskiest thing we ever do is to get into a car and drive. And because this is something that we do almost every day of our lives, we need to take the risks involved in driving very seriously. Sandra, you're an expert on road safety. How dangerous is driving compared to other ways of getting around?
Driving gets a lot of bad publicity. Statistics show that mile for mile, it's riskier to be a pedestrian or a jogger than to drive a car or ride a motorcycle.
But car accidents do happen. What's the main reason?
Many fatal accidents occur because someone has broken the law. The most frequent cause of fatal accidents in the U.S. is distracted driving. When a driver focuses his attention on a cell phone or to eat something, and the second most frequent is driving too fast. And the third major cause of fatal accidents is drunk driving.
Tell us about some of the other factors that can increase our chances of having an accident.
Well, the time of day we're on the road is a very significant factor.
Oh.
Generally speaking, driving at night, for example, is 4 times as dangerous as during the day. This is mainly because visibility is so much worse when it's dark. By day, a driver's visibility is roughly 500 yards. But at night, driving with headlights, it can be as little as 120 yards.
Are there any times of day or night that are particularly risky?
Research shows that you're most likely to have an accident between 5 and 7 p.m. during the week. That's to say during the evening rush hour. And especially in the winter when it's dark. And the day of the week when you're most likely to have an accident is Saturday.
Huh.
In the U.S., more accidents happen on a Saturday than at any other day.
Why do you think that is?
It's probably because the weekend is when the highest number of people are driving. Therefore, the more people driving on the roads increases the chances of having an accident.
Which brings us to where accidents happen.
Just over 50% of accidents happen within 5 miles of where we live. Statistically, the most common kind of accident is crashing into a parked car near our home. Research shows that drivers concentrate less well when they're driving on familiar roads. Fortunately, most of these accidents are not fatal.
So, what about fatal accidents? Where do these tend to happen?
As far as fatal accidents are concerned, the riskiest kind of road to drive on is a rural road. More fatal car crashes in the U.S. happen on country roads than on city streets. In fact, 4,000 more car accidents happen on a country road than on an urban road.
And why is that?
Drivers often think that it's okay to break the speed limit on these roads because there's less traffic. And consequently, they take more risks.
And the safest kind of road to drive on?
A freeway is by far the safest kind of road.
People, usually men, say that women have more accidents than men. Is that true?
Well, It is true that mile for mile, women have more minor accidents than men. But a man is twice as likely to be killed in a car accident as a woman.
So, men really are more dangerous drivers then?
Women, by nature, are usually much more careful and cautious drivers than men. In general, men take far more unnecessary risks when they're driving than women.
The age of a driver must be an important factor too.
Yes. In fact, it's probably the most important factor. A driver aged between 17 and 24 has double the risk of having an accident than an older driver. The reasons for this are obvious. This is the age when drivers have very limited experience with driving, but it's also when they're most likely to drive too fast and take unnecessary risks, particularly if there are other young people in the car.
Which is why a lot of people would like to see the age limit for having a driver's license raised to 21.
I think it would be a very good idea.
Well, that's all we have time for. Thank you very much for coming into the studio today, Sandra. And to all you drivers out there who are listening, drive safely.
2.45. A short movie on the weatherman.
New York is known for sometimes having extreme weather. So where do New Yorkers go for the most up-to-date weather forecasts? They watch their favorite TV weatherman, Mr. G.
Hi, I'm Mr. G. I'm the meteorologist at Channel 11 here in New York, WPIX TV, and also CBS Radio in New York. So I'm in charge of telling a story, building a drama of cold temperatures, wind chill factors, snow on the ground for 35 days. For the 19th time this season, flakes are in the air. It's been snow to sleet, it's been sleet to snow, it's been snow to sleet to rain. It's been raining on Long Island, sleeting in the city, snowing in the suburbs. I want to build up this story to announce what people don't want to hear, another possible snowstorm. A polar vortex is back. More on this later on. Does a cold winter mean a warm summer? No, it's folklore.
So how do New Yorkers handle all this bad weather news?
Certain kind of weather affects people. I mean, it's been a winter where snow's been on the ground a long time. That affects people. I think people have been indoors a lot. But New Yorkers are a tough group. I think people want to connect. And so weather's a great way to connect. Whether you're single and you want to meet somebody, talk about the weather. Whether you want to complain, talk about the weather.
And even though the weather may not be getting any better, the technology we use to predict it is.
When I first started the business, it was 72-hour forecast. As the science progressed, now everybody sees a 7-day forecast. Well, what you're going to see in 2 years is a 10-day forecast. And when my daughter grows up, it will be a 30-day forecast.
So what makes for a great TV weatherman?
Connecting is a big part of the job. The people know the weather. They get it on the computer. They get it on the app. 32% of the audience between 10 and 11 o'clock in New York City watches the news, which means to me that they still want to get it from somebody they trust. So they watch Mr. G for a reason. I still haven't found out that reason, but I know I work hard to tell a good story every night.